I'd like to continue the discussion that we've started today during the Torah service with sharing some experiences that I've had up to this point around this idea of stepping out into the unknown. Can people hear me all right? Is it too quiet? A little more. Is this? So I'll be very honest. So far, the biggest challenge of this internship has been figuring out how to use a microphone. So thank you everybody for your patience. During my junior year of college, I had my first real existential crisis. I wound up taking a course on the neurobiology and the philosophy of consciousness, and it exposed me to reductionism and materialism. The course forced me to confront the assertion that we're nothing more than the sum total of electrochemical and biological processes that occur in this finely tuned machine we call the human body. I was confronted with the idea that consciousness is nothing more than the function of the brain. This view was fiercely at odds with my spiritual perspective on the world and on human nature. I struggled, and when I say I struggled, I mean I struggled, to reconcile our human understanding of physical reality with my intuition of what existence truly is. As I began navigating the existential pit, I sought help in my journey. I reached out to Rabbi Jordan Brownig, who was one of the campus rabbis at Tufts Hillel at the time. He's now the Jewish chaplain at Emory University, and I'm happy to say that a couple months ago, I got a photo from Rabbi David Helfand of David and Jordan hanging out together in Atlanta. So I met up with Rabbi Jordan, and we sat down to study. And I come back to this text that we study together, and I study it often because it grounds me. And to this day, it provides clarity for me when life gets the way it may be for many of us right now. Confusing, uncertain, scary. We studied a midrash from Breshit Rabbah on this week's Parsha. The rabbis asked, just as we've been talking about today, why God picks Avraham to be the father of the Jewish people. What was different about him? What did God see in Avraham that God didn't see in anyone else? In order to give an explanation, and there are many explanations in Breshit Rabbah, Rabbi Yitzchak shares the following parable. Once upon a time, there was a traveler, and the traveler came across a birah doleket, a burning castle. Seeing no one around, the traveler asked out loud, "Is there no one who takes care of this castle?" At that moment, a figure appeared on the balcony of the castle, looked at the traveler, and said to him, "I'm the owner of this castle." Similarly, Avraham, who was still known as Avram at this time, saw a world on fire, a world of chaotic disarray, in disrepair. He bemoaned, "Does no one see this world aflame? Is there no order? Is there no one out there in this universe who rules this seeming mess of an existence?" Because Avram asked these questions, because he struggled to understand a world that seemed to be devoid of meaning, God responded, "I'm the creator, and I oversee this universe." When we look outwards at the world, it can feel like it's on fire, like the lights are on, but nobody's home. We become inundated by stories of hatred and bigotry, of all-consuming greed and moral corruption. We see the hungry maw of darkness gnash its teeth, craving to consume the light. Our hearts sink to the pits of our stomachs, or even worse, they become hardened and cold in an attempt to save ourselves from being consumed as well. In these periods of time, it's difficult to have hope. It's difficult to have faith that not only things will get better, but that we have the ability to make things better, to stave off that gluttonous maw of darkness. What are we supposed to do? I want to go back and I want to read this midrash one more time. And I want to read it one more time slightly differently, because translating Bira Doleket as burning castle is just one way to interpret the text. Doleket doesn't mean just burning or on fire or aflame. We can also translate Doleket as illuminated or full of light. How does the story change with this new perspective? Once upon a time, there was a traveler, and the traveler came across a Bira Doleket, a castle full of light. Seeing no one around, the traveler asked out loud, "Wow, is there someone that takes care of this castle?" The traveler was amazed by its beauty, how the light shined forth from the ornate stained glass windows, how it made the meticulously carved stones of the walls glitter like diamonds. As the traveler stared in awe at the beauty before him, a figure appeared on the balcony. He looked at the traveler and said to him, "I'm the owner and the caretaker of this castle." Similarly, Avram saw a world full of light. The world was full of beauty, of painstaking detail and order, and as tears of awe and gratitude welled at the corner of his eyes, he asked in a quiet and gentle voice, "Surely there must be a creator who oversees this world. With all this light, all this goodness, there's got to be someone that takes care of it all." Because Avram asked these questions, because he noticed the stunning complexity and richness of our existence, God responded to him, saying, "I'm the creator, and I oversee this world." When we look outwards to the world, we can see all the good that takes place in it. We see acts of kindness where the other is cared for and made to feel like they belong. We see the beauty of nature in all its glory and magnitude. We see love expressed in words and in actions. We see people choose the good, banding together to push back against the hungry maw of darkness. But now we're faced with a dilemma. We have two polar opposite understandings, both of this story and of the world. Which one is it? Is the castle burning, or is the castle full of light? Is the world burning, or is it shining bright with light? And I'm curious right now to hear from some people if they want to share, which one is it? I think so. So that's one for the world is full of light. Great. It's not either or. It's somewhere in between. We'll get there in just a minute. A couple other... Yeah. Great. Two sides of the same coin. Well, I arrived at the same... Oh, thank you. Sorry. Great. Making the choice. Yeah. It is, it's funny that you mentioned that story. I was going to include context. There's a Zen Buddhist text called the Lotus Sutra that also has a story of people being inside a house and not knowing it's on fire, and they're coaxed out with this ox cart ride. That'll be a story for another day. But from everyone's responses, I actually don't know if I need to give the rest of this drash. So, as many people said, I believe that it's both. The world is on fire, and the world is full of light. Sometimes we see the fire, and sometimes we see the light. And we can neither focus solely on the light and not on the fire, nor focus solely on the fire and not on the light. We have to hold both worldviews in tension with one another. Avram's ability to question, to seek answers, and to hold these opposing worldviews in tension with one another is why God chose him. The light in the world kindled Avram's faith and hope, and while he also saw the shadowy flames, he refused to let the maw of darkness consume the world's light. Because of his conviction that the light must not be extinguished and his intuition that there is more to this world than meets the eye, he had the courage to take the first step of his journey, even if he didn't know his destination. His hope and his faith empowered him to step into the unknown, and that made all the difference. My bracha, my blessing to all of us this week. May we know the value of taking an unflinching look at the darkness in the world without letting it consume us in despair. May our eyes be open to the beauty, the kindness, and the love that sustains and nurtures the world and all its inhabitants. May we never lose hope and our faith in the world as it could be. And may we have the courage to take those first steps on the path, even if we're unsure of the destination. Shabbat Shalom.